In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, give us the light to know your will, and then give us the strength to get it done. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So for the last talk, it's probably the first useful talk in terms of use. And the reason I left it for last is because then, and there's actually double reason. Of course, there's the evil, fun reason for me, which is that you'll pay more attention. Because if you've been trying to be silent and you haven't been able to quiet yourself too much, then good, now you'll learn to listen. But also, because hopefully you've also figured out ways to reach and achieve interior silence. I hope so. But let's look at some of this. So, and when you want to learn silence, and I say it that way because it's to speak the language of God. Well, we're going to look at the difference between reacting and thinking, or doing and thinking. It will help you a lot. Your brain works in a way to solve problems. That's how we're built. That's how we evolved, if you want, because the people who didn't solve problems, remember, got eaten by other things. So they didn't have kids. Or nobody wanted to marry them because they don't know how to solve problems. So they didn't have kids. So we selected naturally for problem solving. You with me so far? This is why, by the way, stress can kill you. Because your body feels you worried. Your brain sends signals about something is problematic or worrisome. So your body does what it's supposed to do in terms of running away. It produces all these chemicals in your hormones. We'll get to them in a second. But it does these things because it thinks, oh, you're in danger. There's a problem. We've got to solve it. The problem is stress is usually caused by things that are not physical. And you can't solve them. So you're not burning off those chemicals. You're not burning off those hormones. And they build up and they ruin your circulatory system. They ruin your nervous system. That's why people die at 50 from high-stress jobs. Because their veins are like 80-year-olds. Because they've been pumping and pumping and pumping to run from bears that don't exist. Or at least don't exist on a physical level. So your body responds to problems. Any problem. Doesn't matter if I give you a small problem, like where's that leak from? Or if I give you a big problem, like what's the meaning of my life? Why did I almost die but not die? Those are all the things. Your body tries to figure it out. And each moment of your day, each moment of your life, right now, you have lots of information coming in. You have sensory input, right? Your eyes, your ears, your nose, your body is constantly having sensory input. Sometimes your tongue, depends on. That's some of your senses, right? You have more than your 5 senses, right? Because you have like your senses of space, your sense of time. Those are not things that we easily measure or name, but you have multiple senses that let you know how things are moving or where you're going. Those are all coming in. That input's coming in. Then you have your scheduling and your time and sense of your life and the time of your sense of time in the sense of what you want to get done in each moment or each day or each month or each year. Then you also have, things like language, right? You have meaning coming at you. People's body language, the movement of places. You come into a room, it tells you how the room is supposed to be, right? This room tells you you're supposed to be a certain way. The chairs are facing a certain way. There's a podium in the center of the room. Even if there was no one in this room, the room is sending you information. And you're receiving it whether or not you want to. You're receiving it. There's social information coming at you, right? Your own sense, your social critical sense. Are you standing the right way? Are you sitting the right way? Are you behaving the proper way? Are you being disrespectful? Then there's also the other sense, right? Are they being disrespectful? Are they doing the right thing? If everybody came in, and if you came into this room and everybody was sitting in front of a chair next to each other, starting from the front row, you would probably fill in the next seat. But because people are a little bit more spread out, then you think, okay, socially I can do that. Your brain is processing all of that information. And last but not least, although I'm sure there's other things that I could mention, just the last one I'm going to mention is your memory is firing off information to you because it's extrapolating and extracting information from things that and experiences you've had to help apply to the moment you're in, right? If you touch the thing that seems hot and it burns your fingers, then after a while you learn, don't touch things that seem hot before you touch them. Your brain figures out, your body figures out. All of that is coming at you, right? There's some disorders and disabilities that people are born with because they can't handle that kind of information. And they're functional. They can move, they can talk, they can function, but it's a lot for them. So you'll see that they'll do different certain behaviors that let you know something's up, and it's because they're having a hard time receiving all that information. That's your brain in every single microsecond, firing off, firing off, firing off, firing off, firing off, doing all those things. Ruben, can you close that curtain? Thanks. And so your brain has to handle all of that. And so what it's doing is it's reacting to all of that. And it has to. That's a good thing. And I want to get this clear, because the rest of this talk, we're going to talk about the other side of, or the other form of thinking. So I want to clarify this. Being a reactive person is a good thing. You would die if you weren't. If you were always thinking, right? Daniel Kahneman won the Nobel Prize, in his amazing book. It's not a thin read, but it's Thinking, Fast and Slow. So thinking, fast and slow. And he talks about how system 1 and system 2, right? System 1 is your autopilot. Most of your life you're in system 1, and then sometimes you jump into system 2, which is when you're actually critical thinking. It's a lot harder. You have to actually use your brain. You kind of got to wake it up. System 1 kind of wakes the other one up and get up. We got to do something important, and you use it. But you can't. And it burns more energy, so you'd eat differently, you'd move differently. But it's tiring, right? That's why you take a test, or maybe some of these conferences, or a conference is somebody that's very brainy. It's a lot of information coming at you. You almost feel tired. You ever had that? You just sit still. But you get done and you're like, why am I tired? System 2 was probably running a lot. Good speakers know how to engage system 2. If I lower my voice and I do things this way, and then I begin to use my voice in a loud way, your brain turns on system 2 because it says, okay, it must be that it's quiet up and down. Something's going on. I use system 2. I move around. You can't do that all the time. You wouldn't move. You'd be busy pondering every moment of your doing. You'd be useless and you'd be dead. You wouldn't be here anyway. Your ancestors would have been eaten, right? Remember bear? Bear, run. That's it. Just run, like that meme, right? Just run. And you hear the music and it just goes. You don't think. If you stop and you think about a bear, it's already eating you. As you're like, I should probably run. And it's eating dinner and calling its children over to eat you while you're there. So we selected those people out, okay? They didn't have kids. So we're not their kids. We're the kids of the people who run, and they just ran. And half of them didn't know the bear was there. They just saw running and did, okay. And they did the same thing. And thank God. Now, so that's a good thing. But the rest of our time together, we're going to speak about the other way of thinking. If you want to call that problem solving or doing, we're going to call this thinking. Or I guess we could call this, and Daniel Kahneman, if he ever hears this, is going to, be horrified. But I guess I would refer to this as using your system 2. A deep thought, a little bit more critical thinking. And when you do that, you're no longer just reacting. You're reacting, but you're also deciding what your reaction is. You see how now that becomes different? And how that could be very important. When you are just reacting, the devil loves it. Why? Because he pokes you and he can get you to do things because you're moving so fast. That's why if you said to me or someone, good morning, and they're like, whatever, almost instinctively you go, whatever back. Like your instinct would go to that back because you react. But if you ponder it, then you have a chance to choose how to react. And you've seen this. Your day starts off bad and you just made somebody else's day bad. You probably didn't catch it because you didn't care because you were focused on problems and so you were doing that. And so your body reacts all these crazy tiring things like cortisol and adrenaline and norepinephrine and to get things done, and dopamine when you start getting them done a little bit. And so you get addicted to the chemicals. And that's okay. But what we're going to try to do is shift downward from that. Become deliberate. Do things in a deliberate way. It's very effective, and it's much, much harder to trick someone. Con men do this, by the way. This is all science, is what I'm giving you right now. I haven't given it into faith yet. Con men do this all the time. That's why they meet you with a big smile, and they shake your hand, and they go, hey man, what's going on? How are you? Instinctively, you think, oh, this person likes me. I should like them. Because that kept us alive when we were cavemen. If you were mean and you were doing your own thing, that whole individualism nonsense, they were dead. They were eaten. Bears, okay? They were gone. I'm going to just be my bears. Like they're just, that's a luxury we have because we don't have bears, okay? I'm not trying to pick a fight with bears because they'd kill me, but I could use my tools. And so when you're not thinking, then you just move quickly. And the best example I like to use or to look at or to think about is dominoes. Not the game. I'm terrible at that game. Okay? Dominoes as in the thing. Because a domino can knock something over about 1.5 times larger than its size. That's why you can knock a domino and then usually we line up dominoes are all the same size, right? Those cool patterns. That's lame. You know what you can do is you can knock over a slightly bigger domino. Actually, if you line it up just right and you almost have like an airtight chamber, so it's almost impossible to do, you can actually knock over a domino twice its size. But that's like almost scientifically, it's theoretically possible, but scientifically 1.5 times is pretty safe. Because it has a high center of gravity, right? It's a little foot, and it's very tall. And so when it tips a little bit of movement, the whole thing comes over. And when it comes, gravity carries it. And with its own weight, it's a little bit heavier than its own real weight. So it moves. When it hits the next domino, especially if it doesn't slide, if it just hits it and it doesn't slide off, if it just hits it and moves it, then it's even heavier than it's supposed to be. So it can knock over something bigger than itself. That's why there's some, fun little articles you'll see. Like there's one scientist and he lined up 13 dominoes. The first one was 5 millimeters tall. It's about a little bit smaller than a Tic Tac. You have to set it up with tweezers. You can see the video. It's like that. The 13th domino is 3 feet tall, weighs about 100 pounds. And it knocks it down because that one knocks over 1.5 bigger, 1.5 bigger, 1.5, only 13. The largest one, as of now, was 20 feet tall. And it started with a little itty bitty domino. You can see the video. And it knocked it down. If you had 29 dominoes in a row, starting from the Tic Tac size guy, the 29th one would be the size of the Empire State Building. So you understand how big this force can go. You with me so far? What does dominoes have to do with you? It's your thoughts. You can have a thought that triggers something, and it'll trigger another thought, and then another thought, and then another thought. And all of a sudden, you're in a zone that you may or may not have. No, let me rephrase that. All of a sudden, you're in a zone you didn't choose. And you have almost no choice. It just keeps going. And this happens to you every day, which is why you often find yourself crawling into bed at the end of the day. Because all the dominoes have been falling. You're physically tired because your nervous system is shot because it's reacting to all these things and all these things and all these things. It's just doing what it's supposed to do. And we're not in danger from bears anymore mostly, but that's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because we're not in danger from them on a physical level. It's a bad thing because our brain doesn't know how to deal with danger. That's why you have people who need safe spaces. They're offended and hurt by words. Are you serious? They've become so delicate that words hurt them. Father, words can hurt. Of course they can. And you can hurt them back. Come on, stop it. You can cover your ears. Radical thought. Ready? Cover your ears. Gone. You can click on the little X in the corner of the screen, and it goes bye-bye. But you don't think of that because all those dominoes have been moving so fast. By the time it hits you, you get a mob on you. A virtual mob. And so we become too delicate because of this. So yeah, I'm glad. Listen, I don't want to live in the woods. I'd probably die the first day. Take one or two of you out with me. But I'd die the first day. I definitely wouldn't die alone. I'd be like, you're coming with me. We're all going to die. But it does soften us because we then lower our bar for danger. And we're getting to the point where anything is dangerous. And that's not dangerous. That's ridiculous. It's not. That's why there's such a low level of psychosis among native and primitive peoples. They're like super mentally healthy. Even if they don't know fancy science, you talk to them and there's almost no neurosis because they're all right with it. They're like, hey, what's up? Because they know what real danger is, or real hunger is, or real problems are. And our civilization is amazing, don't want to trade it, but it does lower us because there's constant stimulus. All that information I told you is going on all the time. And so it messes with us. So the danger is we get carried away by each day, and what a moment of meditation does, a moment of silence, it stops the dominoes. Doesn't go and push them back. If we had 29 dominoes starting with 5 millimeters and the 29th one was the size of the Empire State Building, I can't stop any of the big ones, even if I wanted to. What I can do is move one of them. That's it. I don't have to stop any of them. I just have to move one or tip it the other way. And they can't. Remember, they can only knock one of a certain size larger. They can't knock down infinite-sized dominoes. All you do is pull one out. The other one will hit the next one, but it's not big enough. Remember, you broke the size, the scale. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? Yeah. It's such a simple thing that I think it's shocking to most of us. This is what silence provides for you. A space, a break, a reset. It stops the dominoes. It gives you back your life. It allows you to think and not just do. God created you that way. When Genesis says, let us make man in our own image, that's what he meant. We all look differently. So clearly it's not a physical thing. It's that he gave you free will. But your free will is only as free as you allow it to be. If you let it get caught up in things, then it'll be caught up in things. And so you recenter yourself. He gave you the ability to think or reflect. Now, we're going to go over a few ways of doing this. We'll get back to these, but we'll circle back to these. But I honestly hesitated to give these to you because you can find your own way of doing it. These are just 2 or 3 that are known, and we'll get to 2 or 3 more. Okay, that's weird, but there's a reason why. You want to kind of see yourself. I mean, if you want to close your eyes, you can do this. That's fine. It's called visualization. If you want to close your eyes, you can do this. You don't have to. You're a mountain. You're not on a mountain. You are the mountain. And a mountain is not bothered by almost anything. It's very solid. It's been there. Time comes and goes, and the mountain is still there. Small changes may happen, but the mountain doesn't move. And your thoughts, they're like clouds. Your emotions are like clouds. They go by the mountain. The mountain sees them. Some of them touch the top of the mountain, but they still go by, and the mountain is still there. And so some of them are big clouds, some of them are soft, some of them are storms, some of them are horrific hurricanes. The mountain doesn't care. The mountain notices the clouds, delights in them as they go by, but they don't change the mountain in any significant way. That's how your thoughts are supposed to be. Maybe they soak the mountain, maybe they don't. Maybe they drop rain, maybe they don't. But the mountain is still there. It remains. Another way to look at it that's different is look at a river. Visualize or see a river in front of you. If you're standing at the banks of a river, it can be a small river, it can be a huge, massive river. Your thoughts are the things that float by on the river. Cardinal Robert Sarah calls them like ships on the river. And they go by. They flow by you. You are not in the river. Once you understand that, you're not carried away by anything on it. And so your stream of consciousness is a stream, if you want to go with that, but it's a stream that carries things, doesn't carry you. And if the river starts getting upset, if it's flowing too big, if it's flowing larger and overflowing its banks, all you have to do is step back. And you're not in the river. Now, those are just 2 visualizations that sometimes help people understand how to silence their mind. Now, we began, and I hope you obviously began, with exterior quiet. We'll get back to that, whether that's possible or not, a little later. But let's assume you can get exterior quiet. You're in a retreat house. You've got quiet. But now, what do you find? As I said yesterday, your heart and your mind is full, loaded. There's a whole crowd in there. Thoughts, desires, distractions, fantasies, temptations, anger, joy, emotions, all firing off and talking all at once. What you have to do is step back from them. And either you're the mountain and they just flow by you, they're clouds and they go by you, or maybe you're the river and you just watch them stream. Now why? Because you're going to notice them, which is one of the keys to quieting yourself, noticing things. But you're not going to involve yourself in them. Now if it's something important, fine. Get a piece of paper and a pen or a notebook and write the thing down if it's important. But now it's gone. It's on the paper now. It's no longer with you. Now it's not that they'll go away. It's that they no longer carry you with them. That's why Robert Cardinal Sarah in his book, The Power of Silence, he calls them, he says, they don't carry you off anymore. You just watch them go by. If you've ever come to visit me on my island, one of the places I like to meet with folks is on the edge of where the ferry terminal is. You can watch the ships go by. We're not on them. I can notice them, I can look at them, I can read where they were from, I can maybe imagine where they're going, but right at that moment, I'm not on them. They just go by. And all of a sudden, what you've done is begin to remove yourself from the noise that's there. That's a way of achieving interior quiet, interior calm. And by the way, that way of doing it has been done by thousands of different kinds of cultures and people. It's as old as humanity. Okay, older than Christianity. It's a way of just letting things go by. What does Elijah do on the mountain? He stands in the cave and he just watches all the things go by on the mountain, but he doesn't come out. As big as the wind is, or the storm is, or the fire is, or the earthquake is, he just hangs out in the cave. If you want, imagine yourself as Elijah waiting. Once everything goes by, then he covers his face and steps out. Do you kind of get what I'm going with? And if you don't, that's okay. We've got some other ways of looking at it, but that can help. In both the river or the mountain, those things are, the clouds or the things on the river are your thoughts and emotions. They're not you. And that's where you stop just reacting and now you're thinking. You notice you're upset, but you're not upset. Do you see the difference? Because if you can notice it, then it's not you. If you can notice that you're stressed out, yeah, but that just means that if you can notice it, that means it's not you. Yes, I'm getting very philosophical. Yes, I'm getting very meta-analytical on you. Because you can. We're the only thing in visible creation that can do that. A dog can't think about itself. It can just think. You get me? It's not aware that it's thinking. It's not aware that it's happy. It is just happy. A child, very young, is just happy. Then they hit that point where they understand that they can be aware that they're happy. Maybe you just hit that point today. Fine with me. Now I taught you. That's fine. Guess what? We all grow together. And so that's where those things, dryness, there's something I didn't say yesterday, and it's a little bit mean, it's a little bit deliberate, but that's okay. I'm a mean and deliberate person. There is another pattern of dryness. I said there's our cause and God cause. That's true. That wasn't a lie. And there's essentially three, but there is one other type. I just didn't refer to it because it's almost so different that which is the regular pattern of dryness that God allows. If you read the screw tape letters, he calls it the law of undulation, of waves. God always allows you to go through dryness. The difference is, of course, those are shorter periods. They're not years and years and years. They're, a few weeks or maybe a month or two that you feel a little bit funny and then you come back up. God does that because you have to learn how to love him, not just for the emotion. But if you have learned how to be mindful, how to step back, how to enjoy and wrap yourself in silence, then even your dryness will not stop you from prayer. Even your dryness will not stop you from living a virtuous life. Was that mean to trick you and not mention it yesterday? Maybe. I'm a mean guy. But it is an important thing to separate yourself from it. Sometimes we get lost, even in prayer life. You can get lost in the noise of prayer life by just looking for the feeling. I call those people retreat junkies. When I used to help them a lot more often at the center, I would see them. First stage retreat, and then another first stage retreat, and then a third first stage retreat, and I'm like, all right, come here. I actually know your face. You're supposed to be at a second stage. I like this one. Just go to the second. I do those too. I was like, okay, so this has just gotten weirder than I thought. Okay, so you've been at first and second? Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, they're a retreat junkie. They're looking for that emotional high that they got that first time they met God. That's just noise. It's a prettier noise, but it's just noise. Don't do that. Noise is a temptation, and that's just another form, a nicer form of temptation, but a temptation nonetheless. What you want is God, not how God makes you feel. That's what love is, right? If you want to marry a young woman, or you want to marry a young man, and you only want to marry because of how they make you feel, then you don't love that person. You love what they do for you. That is the opposite of love. That's actually the exact opposite of love. It's evil bastard twin. Remember the 90s, the sitcoms? If it had a goatee, it was evil. It was just the actor and they put never mind. Anyway, so some of you don't know about that life, but in the movie, it would just be the same actor. He put on a goatee, like, hey, and he was his evil twin brother. That's that, okay? Some of us become retreat junkies. Be careful. That's just noise. That's another form of noise. That's certainly not God. That's why you keep looking past it and you don't see it. And God's like, I'm right here. No, I want the flashy thing. Oh, so you just like the flashy thing. You didn't actually like me. Just noise. Okay, so once you get past boredom and silence, or once you want to look past, what you're going to probably notice is meaning or direction or purpose is how you solve it. That's why waiting and sitting still is boring or makes you sleepy, because you don't think you have something to do. You see, you have no direction. Erling Krieger, I'm sure I pronounced his name hideously, is, Silence in the Age of Noise, if I remember the name of the book. Great. He's one of these guys who climbed the three poles. So you have the North Pole and you have the South Pole. He's gone to both. And then there's a term called the third pole, where you climb Everest. So he's one of the first people to do, because it's kind of the north, the vertical pole. And then he's almost done with the 10-pole challenge. So it's the 3 poles plus the 7 next highest mountains around the world. You're regularly putting your life in danger. Remember what I described Everest as? Yeah, those are his friends that died. I first learned the story from him, and then I heard about the movie. And he tells that story at the beginning of the book, so you can understand the power of nature, and maybe even it causes you silence. He actually tells it the first time he writes in the book. He's trying to get people to be silent, and it works. Well, he writes and he talks about how silence, most of the time it comes from lack of purpose. Boredom comes most of the time from lack of purpose. Boredom comes from lack of purpose. But if silence has a purpose, then it's no longer boring. That's what you're doing. Those waves of boredom that I described before from that quote from David Foster Wallace, it's because you don't know what they're there for. Once you know what they're there for, you ride them to where you have to go. And you feel bliss, the opposite of boredom. And so that purpose, but here's the thing. You have a purpose beyond any particular moment, thought, or silence. I suppose you know that, but I'm going to repeat it. You have a purpose beyond any particular meaning or purpose that you have in any particular moment. You exist for a reason. You were not an accident. All that biochemistry that I can explain to you, and you probably don't understand how much I love biochemistry. I really like biochemistry, especially neurobiology. All of that doesn't account for consciousness. It doesn't account for meaning. We can extract meaning from things, and scientists do not know, doctors do not know how we exactly do that. There's a few arguments about consciousness, but where it comes from, they can't figure out. That you can think, in other words, makes you unique in all of creation. If all of life was eliminated and just you existed in all of space, you'd still be more valuable than all of space, because only you can think. I bet you didn't think you were more valuable than everything else. No, Father. No, I'm not complimenting you. I don't care. I don't care how you think. And now if I offend you, I should say, it's a cloud. Let it go by. Let it go by. So I'm not doing this to compliment you. I'm doing this because it's a fact. It's a measurable reality. Nothing else can think. That's why I'm always amused when people go, there has to be life in the universe. And I go, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. There's a lot of theological problems. Maybe there is, though. We can argue that. Here's the thing. They go, the argument I won't accept is, you can't tell me that all of that, God, even if they believe in God, God just wasted it. And I go, dum-dum, you are worth more than all of that. Not even trying. At conception, you are worth more than it, because you have the potential to do more than any of it can ever do. Are you serious? You just don't know your own value. What, just because it's bigger, it's more valuable? Does that make Matt more valuable than me? He's taller? That's not fair. That seems unreasonable. He's willing to negotiate that detail. I get it. We can have it out. But, size is ridiculous. That's still physical. Consciousness is beyond that. There's arguing little kids fighting, and you're like a football player. Little kids playing football, and like a real NFL player comes on the field. Not even a challenge. It's almost not the same sport. So you're like, oh, this is so much bigger. Size versus beyond physicality? Are you serious right now? That's ridiculous. That's arguing completely different things. That's completely unrelated. You have a purpose. When you stop in silence, then you have a chance to hear it and figure it out. When you don't, when you let the dominoes keep falling, you are carried away by the things around you. You are exactly like a beast. Dog or bear or whatever else you want to say. That's not nice, Father. I'm not being nice. I'm being real. Your value only comes if you reflect. Otherwise, you don't know. You don't have it. You haven't used the potential value. You have the potential for value, but you haven't used it. You have to reflect and then do it and move past it. You have to look for it. And then when you're there, you can ask God. You can speak to God. You've transcended to the level of consciousness, something that's you're much higher. You're worth more. I got a little deep there. Everybody still with me? Some of you fell asleep. That's okay. Just cover them with a blanket. Okay, so now let's go into some more specific techniques of how to quiet the mind. Again, I really hesitate. You don't understand. Up until this morning, I was like, drop it from the talk. I was like, no, fine. Because I think you can find your own. And there's many. But I'll just go through some ways of some people doing sometimes silence. You got that? Father said do this. And if you leave and you have your notes and you go, I didn't do it right, so it's not working, then you've literally become noise. This talk became noise for you because now you're lost in how to do it. It's just steps to kind of how to do it. Okay? You with me? Because some of you I know are going to be like, nope, I did it wrong. Step what? 1.5? I didn't. So when no. That's noise. That's noise. And you're going to get lost in it. Don't do that. Your instinct, and I'll teach you the best one, God will teach you how to do it most naturally. So the first ones that I already mentioned, right? The ones of like visualization. So you can use the mountain, you can use a river. Some people use a lake and they just descend down to the bottom. You ever been in a pool and you get to sit on the bottom of the pool and you can kind of hear what's going on, but not really? A lot of stuff just falls away. And you just kind of chill down there. And not for very long, but you're like, I could do this. Now imagine if you can breathe down there. You just pull back down. You know, you hear about these horrific storms on the ocean, massive storms, danger to everything around them. And then, you know, we have submarines in the middle of those things. And they're underneath. They can't tell there's a storm if they're deep enough, except for the machines. The little readouts that tell them there's a storm, they're like, oh, look, there's a storm. Want some more tea? Okay, great. You know, because they're so deep, it cannot penetrate the depth and the pressure of the water. So you can use that visualization. Fine with me. But either way, you're going to maybe see yourself separating. And here's the big deal. Separating the things that are passing through your mind. That's why I said yesterday in the day, last conference and the conference before, that just because a thought occurs to you doesn't mean it's a correct thought or a real thought. Well, you're going to separate. Why? Because once you notice that you can notice it, that means that it's no longer carrying you away. That's really the trick here. Okay? You get what I'm trying to say? It's a key. It's kind of a key thing. You have to be aware that you can notice this thing, because by definition, then you have separated your ego, yourself, from that thing. Got it? If you can't notice it, right? Crazy people don't know they're crazy. You know that phrase? Right? They don't know that. They think as they sit in pudding that it's a normal thing to bathe in pudding, right? They're just like, this is awesome. Get some more applesauce. And they throw that on there. They don't realize they're crazy. When you can think about it, then it's no longer carrying you. And that's really the way, once again, other than the external quiet, now you get in there and now there's just this riot in here. Fine. Most times what you do, you fall for it. You fight them. Wrong. Then they've got you. I can't think of that. You're thinking of it. Notice it and then move past it. Well, I got to get rid of it. Nope. Just notice it. Let it be there. Let it sit right next to you. Doesn't matter. Do you see? All these processes are just ways of doing this. Okay? Another way to look at it is your thoughts. Another way to look at it is that your thoughts are like someone throwing tennis balls at you. Or like there's a tennis ball machine spitting them out, you know, like one of those ball machines. It just keeps popping them out at you. Really, if you really want to get technical about it, I guess you could say it's not tennis balls. It's those high bounce balls, you know, those little itty bitty ones you get at a quarter machine. Because they're designed about why? Because what happens? There's a couple things you can do when a bouncy ball is spitting them at you. If it's throwing them at you and you're in a small room and you don't stop it, what will it do? Bounce and come back. And then bounce and come back. And then bounce and come back. And then bounce and come back. It won't stop. In theory, if there was no air, if it was an airless chamber, it would bounce indefinitely, right? No pressure and no air. It would bounce indefinitely. And so what do? Well, if you get out of the way, it's going to keep bouncing. So that's not going to help. If you stand in the way, it'll hit you if you try to ignore them. And that's going to distract you. So what you're going to do is you're going to catch them. And then you're just going to put them on the floor. Now they're no longer bouncing. You've killed their momentum. Catch them, put them on the floor. You're not going to catch them and play with them. That's distraction. You're not going to catch them and throw them another way because they're going to hit you back. You're going to catch them and put them on the floor. Catch them and put them on the floor. Even better, catch them and hand them to God. As he smiles and goes, give me. Catch them and hand them to God. That's a little bit of Mother Teresa there. I'll explain that in a second. But catch them and hand them to God. And he'll hold them. He's fine. He's got big hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He'll catch them. But you catch them. Yeah. Oh, man, I got to get work done. Catch it. God, I got to get work done. I'm really frustrated by that lady at work. God, I'm really frustrated by that lady at work. I'm a filthy sinner. God, I'm a filthy sinner. Doesn't matter. See, that's the thing. I can throw big ones at you. My family was messed up and it messed me up my whole life as a kid. My family, Lord, was messed up. And I think they messed me up as a kid. Just hand them over. Don't get engaged. It's almost, if you want to get really weird about it, it's almost like the balls begin to pass through you. They still run, and God just catches them for you behind you. You just kind of, you move past, and you got them, and they won't hit you anymore. But they won't keep bouncing either. And that's another way to maybe visualize it on a physical thing. But don't try to dodge them. They'll just keep bouncing, and you'll be moving, so you're not still. Don't try to catch them, because then you're engaged. Or don't try to just not catch them, because then they're just hitting you. Catch them, drop them, or hand them to God. Notice each one. Notice what are you noticing? Your each thought, emotion, memory. Don't entertain or condemn. You monster, how could you do that? Don't do that. Here's the thing. It's like if you and I played a game, and you could pick which one you were going to play. It's a game for two people, okay? Two people are in a room, and we have a dodgeball, right? One nice big ball. And you can pick. I'm going to describe the two roles, and you tell me which game you think would be a better game to play. We're both in the room. We both have you have a dodgeball. Well, one person gets a dodgeball. Person one's job is they get a point every time they hit the crucifix in the room with the dodgeball. Okay? You can stop them as much as you want. Person two can try to stop them as much as you want. They get a point whenever they throw the ball anywhere but the cross. If you have any kind of sense, you know who you want to play. The person who goes, what, anything? Yeah, then I play that guy. That's what the devil does. He doesn't care. He'd prefer you to think of sin and evil. But that's fine. If he just throws crazy thoughts at you and you're just thinking about them or thinking about this or does anybody know, he still gets the point. Some people get horrific thoughts during Mass, some horrific thoughts during the consecration. Horrific, inappropriate thoughts. And they think, oh man, I must be a bad person. And the devil's like, nice, point. Even if they don't entertain the thought. Sure, he'd love you to entertain the thought. But even if you don't, he's like, nice, point. Because he still gets the point. You see what I mean? Don't play the game. It's an unfair game. Face only at the cross and you'll be fine. Okay. Another way to do it, and this is more one I learned from the Missionaries of Charity. Don't know if it's just theirs. Don't know if it was Mother herself. Don't care. Learned it with them, and I still think of being in India and Calcutta when I don't know if I managed to pull this off. Anyway, they have a holy hour, and their holy hour usually is in the evening, like 5 or 4, and they sit there in front of the Blessed Sacrament and they pray the Rosary, and they pray it like this, the whole Rosary. I wanted to kill myself. And I'm supposed to be holy because I'm in Calcutta with nuns at Mother Teresa's grave. And I wanted to die because that's how they pray it. Now, it's hot in Calcutta. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a hot place. It's in India, just in case. It's hot. Now, I get hot just thinking about hot. Do you understand? So even if it's not hot, I was hot. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And it was hot. It was May or something like that. I don't remember. I think it was around May. But it was hot. And they pray the Rosary like this in the afternoon. That's not good. And so but here's the thing. That's okay if it's hot because what they do is they open all the windows in a first floor chapel in the middle of one of the slums of one of the world's biggest cities, because that helps. So the amount of screaming and noise that you learn to hear is insane. Now, it was better than when I used to go with them in the Bronx, because at least I didn't know what people were saying in Calcutta. So I was able to disconnect some of it. Although if they're right in front of the window and they're like, bah! Like, you just jump because they're right outside the window. They're not yelling at the window. They were talking to somebody else. But it's New York. It's like New York, right? People are just loud in the city. And so it sounded like they were, so you'd look over. And none of the nuns would move. They were focused and they were in the zone. I feel like 1 or 2 were sleeping. But maybe I saw 1 or 2 sleeping. But that's okay, sisters. Nobody knows who it is. Okay, so. But why was I looking at the nuns? Doesn't matter. I was still messed up by looking at the nuns. There's that game again. I was still losing. So one of the things that someone said, I think it was one of the priests or chaplains that was there, maybe it was one of the MC fathers, he said, well, Mother liked us to have the windows open. Because I was like, close the windows, even though it's hot. At least it's quiet. And he's like, well, one, it's really, really hot, man. Are you crazy? No. But even if it wasn't, open windows are open for another reason. Mother wanted us to hear the people we're praying for. To remember why you're there, so that even when you're not with them, you're with them. Or better said, they're with you. You bring them into the most important part of your day. Not the food, not the shelter, not the warmth or the keeling or the cooking, which those women do. Okay? Don't you dare question. Those women are the real deal. Bring them with you to the most important thing, right? To God. And so, when you hear them, pray for them. It's a way of, like I said, catching the balls and handing them to Jesus. I did it in the Bronx, and I remember there was some guy, I forget what it was like Day Day. He's like, yo, Day Day! Tell your sister I said what's up. And I prayed for Day Day and his sister and the guy who... What are you going to do? You got no choice. One, but also, listen, it's Mother Teresa. It worked. Clearly, it's a useful, effective tool, all right? So, I mean, who am I to argue with an artiste, right? She's a masterpiece. You going to argue with that? Okay. Son, guess what? I got to pray for 3 people. Never mind. I would love to go back to Harlem and find out who that guy was. And his sister, and the guy who wanted to talk to his sister or say what's up to his sister. I felt like there was more than the what's up. You know, like the tone said what's up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like I felt like there was more. See, my head was there. I was like, oh, put it down. I looked at the ball. I was like, no, hand the ball. So that's another way of doing it. Listen. It was so interesting. What was the life of Day Day? Is his name Day Day? Is it on his certificate? Is it a nickname? How did he get the nickname? Is it a reference? And I was like, no. You're losing it. So listening, that's just what you call maybe a form of listening. These are all types of centering prayer. The word centering prayer is an iffy word. You got to be careful because it got a real funny kind of reputation in the 60s and 70s when they started adding weird other religions to Christianity because they were trying to be with it and hip and cool and relevant guys, dudes. And so, but centering prayer, like priests with long hair and ponytails and tie-dye vestments. And they said, don't call me this, man. That guy, those guys. So they gave centering prayer a bad name. It's a perfectly useful term and a perfectly useful thing, okay? You get what I'm trying to say? Just be aware that if you say centering prayer to certain people, they're going to get nervous. Their mustaches will twitch, okay? Or maybe they don't have a mustache, but you know what I'm talking about, okay? So you got to be aware of that, all right? But that's all these are. These are ways of returning to the center. The last one that's super common, again, you can look it up, is breathing. To focus on your breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing. By the way, all of the techniques I'm telling you are used by non-religious people. The U.S. Army is funding research into meditation. The U.S. Army is funding research into meditation. Let that just insane thing sit down and just get your mind. Google is helping pay for it too. So are a bunch of the Fortune 500 companies because employees who know how to enter into silence are more effective, they're more creative, and they have more energy. Yeah, I know. You're like, what? Yep. But if they don't focus on God, what do they get? Oh, that's terrifying. That's for them. Because, if you open yourself, something can come in. You should choose what you open to. That's the difference between them and us. But I'm fine with the technique, fine with me. Just make sure you don't look at it, right? Opening your mind. People go, you have to have an open mind. An open mind, C.S. Lewis, should be like an open mouth so that you close it on something solid. Right? You don't want anything to go into your mouth. Open your mind only to close it on something solid. If it's trash, don't open your mind to it. You get me? But these are techniques used by super non-religious, completely non-religious organizations, okay? But one is breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing is also used to help treat pain. Cancer, if you look it up, sometimes you'll get like cancer websites because it helps you, because meditation also helps deal with pain. So this might look funny. I don't care. You probably look funny anyway. So you're going to take your hand, you're going to put it on your belly button. You're going to take your other hand and you're going to put it on your chest. Most times when you take a deep breath, your chest will move. That's not the best way to breathe. It's certainly not the most efficient. It's not the deepest, and it's not how any other mammal breathes. You ever seen a baby breathe? I love it. They get fat. Fatter, skinnier. Fatter. It's the cutest thing ever. And they stand and they still do it. They have like wide leg stance and they stare at you. They get fatter and they get skinnier. And fatter. Yeah. You haven't noticed it. It's a baby way to stand. But then we learn, about 3 or 4 years old, we start standing more erect. And so we breathe vertically. Our chest moves, not our gut. The hand on your chest is the one that's moving. It's a semi-deep way to breathe. Now, breathe in a way that the one on your stomach moves, but not the one in your chest. Now, you have an advantage because you're sitting, I'm standing. We have an advantage if we were laying down, but then it gets weird because then I can imagine one of the brothers coming in as we're all on the floor breathing. And I'm already weird. I know they think I'm a little bit off because of the cloak and the weird, and I know I scared someone last night when I was going for a walk with my hooded cloak. Oh well. I waved, but they didn't wave back, and that's when I realized I probably scared the bejesus out of them. I was like, oh, they didn't wave back. That was a mistake. I should have acted like I didn't see them. Whoever it was, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to freak you out. So imagine all us laying down. Father Tom wouldn't like me anymore. So you're going to breathe in a way that moves just the hand over your belly button. And you can feel it's deeper. Now you're using your diaphragm, right? That's the mountain-shaped, actually, curved-shaped muscle that's connecting your lungs at the bottom, and it pulls out. So your chest is not moving. Your diaphragm is. And now you're going to pay attention to that. You're going to hear it. You're going to feel it. And you're going to sense it. And your mind is now a lot more quiet than it was a few seconds ago. And the reason that works is because on a psychological and on a physical level, you're cheating. You can keep doing it while you're doing it, but I got to move around. What's happening is What's happening on a psychological level is you're focusing on something that's not your thoughts. Breathing. And it's something moving, but you're still still. It's kind of like the mountain analogy. You're moving, but it's not moving. On a physical level, yeah, some of you are going to yawn. I know, you're going to get tired when you do it. Do you know why? Because the only time you breathe this way is when you're sleeping. So your body goes, oh, sleep time. It's like children turning off the lights. Oh, sleep time. If you learn how to do this for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll get woozy or dizzy or tired. Then you can extend it longer. Then eventually you can do this more deliberately. It's actually a healthier way to breathe, by the way. Like you actually use more of your lungs. It's actually built the way mammals do that because they're on their fours. Watch how cats breathe, or dogs breathe, or cows breathe. They get fatter for a second and then they get thinner. We don't do that because it looks inappropriate. I don't care what you look like. Neither does anybody else. You know that, right? Like that's been proven over and over again. Most people, unless they're looking at you directly, they don't really care. But when you're meditating, if you're thinking about what other people look like, then you've lost the noise. You're lost in the noise. You get me? You're losing the game. So the other thing that's happening is it's a kind of restful breathing. So your body says, oh, we're breathing deep. Oh, we must be safe. Shut down the norepinephrine and the adrenaline. Shut down all the crazy hormones that keep you awake and pressurized and ready and stressed. We don't need them because we're breathing slow. We must be cool. It's literally, it works both ways. It's a neural feedback loop, if I think that's the word for it. It means your body does stuff that affects your mind, but your mind can do stuff that affects your body. Usually that's the way it works, right? You think of something dangerous, your breathing gets shorter because your body goes, oh, there's a problem. I know how to get away from bears. That's what your body does. I keep saying bears. Listen to me. Your body speaks that language. It always speaks that language. Bears it gets. It doesn't get, I don't know if she likes me. Your body's like, what? Is that bears? No, then I don't know what you're talking about. Is it? Where's the bear in the story? Oh, there's no bear? Then I don't know what you're talking about. It knows danger and a problem to get away or not. Your brain knows all the other rest of it. Your body knows. Food does that too. That's why you eat when you share with someone and you can be at calm. Because it says, oh, if we're eating, we must be safe. We must be up a tree somewhere and bears are downstairs or something. I don't know. We're away from bears. No bears, but there's food. And so it thinks that. And so you eat and it calms you. But you can't eat to meditate because then you'll get lost. Unless I'll get to a great author that actually uses it in a second. We'll actually get there in just a couple seconds. But listen, focus, and breathe on it. In your hands. You don't have to do it every time, but it helps. You'll see. The reason you get sleepy is because your body thinks you're safe. You only get sleepy when you're safe. You only get sleepy when you're safe. And so that's why your body, that's why it's so cool when a kid falls asleep on you, right? What an amazing moment of trust. Little kid and they fall asleep and you're like, okay, I'm pretty cool, right? Because they trust you. They can be asleep. If they can't, then they don't like you that much. They usually lean away. They can't get away, but they lean away. They get away. And so that breathing is a way to also quiet your mind. And the last one I'm going to say is imagination. Your imagination is a good thing. It's a gift from God. Even though I know some of you are thinking, no, it gets me in trouble all the time. Yes, it does. Well, how does a gift from God get you in trouble? Because if I gave you a pen and you stick it in people's eyes, it doesn't make the pen bad. Doesn't make the pen bad. It doesn't make me bad for giving it to you. It makes you bad for misusing it, but you're not inherently bad. You just used it the wrong way. You get me? Your everything, your sexuality, your imagination, all the gifts that you have, they're not bad. It's just if you use them in a bad way. Well, God did that to me. No. He definitely didn't envision you stabbing people in the eye when he gave you the pen. He envisioned you using it to write notes. So your imagination, what happens is if you don't know how to use it, you can't run away from it because it's part of you. And it's actually a very important part of you. So what happens is it becomes like a wild stallion. So either you run from it and it just runs away, runs around, or you're dumb enough to get on it and it just carries you somewhere. And you have no idea where it's going and you're in trouble by the time you figure out. And the horse don't know what it's doing either because it can't die, so it's going to keep going. That's what most of our imaginations are like. Get on the horse, calm it down, and take it. Horses and man evolved in such a beautiful harmony. So did dogs. We evolved in such a way that we're perfect for each other. The man on a horse with a dog at his side is ancient. You know, it's a real thing. Humanity does well with those two creatures because they're both designed for long distance running. That's why. So are we, even though I'm not. But that's why we don't have our fur is so thin, right? This right here, that's our fur. So we cool off faster. That's why we can outrun animals. Some of these pre-Stone Age, or Stone Age better said, and pre-Iron Age cultures, that's how they catch things. They run them down. They keep getting tired, and they keep getting them tired, and they keep running. Dog evolved for that. so they can do that with us. They're long distance runners. They pant to get the air out, to cool themselves off. Other things overheat. So we just run them until they're tired. Horses can do it pretty well. We co-evolved in a really interesting way. And so ride the horse, but you can take it where to go. You don't have to be mean to it. You don't even have to hurt it. Horses and humans are so well in key that just a gentle movement of your hips or ankles, and they kind of know where we want them to go. It's amazing. And if you don't know where to go, they can take you somewhere safe. Like, we need water. Just let them wander, and they'll find water for you. We're really like evolved in a beautiful way. Well, your imagination's like that. It's created for you. So pick it where to go. Those visualizations of the mountain and the river or going underwater or the balls or the breathing is a form of the visualization. Those are all you using your imagination. All you did was take it and kind of calm it down first. And then say, come, we're going to go this way. And it will help you climb on it. It will help you go. So you can use it and tell it where to go. Now, some of you are thinking, why didn't you say this on Friday night, Father? Yes. And I'm saying, because now you're listening. Because you've suffered, and you've paid, and you've cried, and you've railed against the universe. And once you've done all of that, I smile in the bottom of the dust, and hey, do you want me to show you the way? Yeah. I would have listened. No, you wouldn't. Stop it. It would have been useful this whole weekend? No. Actually, no. Because now we're going to transition to the reality of all of these things you can use at all times, and you won't have the silence of the weekend or a retreat. So it's more useful to you to know it at the end. Because I want you to carry this forward, not back. Would have been nice to know for both. Yeah, too bad. Get the audio and listen to it another time, okay? All of these methods and any other method, what they're all doing, all of those methods are designed to put you into the present moment. Here and now, right here, right now. Now, an amazing book for it that does all these things at once is Dr. Greg Bottaro's The Mindful Catholic. Dr. Gregory Bottaro's The Mindful Catholic. He literally begins each chapter, I forget, but I think it's 8 chapters and 1 intro chapter. And at the beginning of each chapter, at the end, I forget, he puts in an exercise. He uses examples from his life. Catholic psychologist, super Catholic, super good at psychology. Not because of the book, I've seen some of his work. He wouldn't know me from a hole in the wall, but I know him. And he gives one. He says, just do each one a few days a week for a week. And then you'll have like an 8-week mindfulness seminar. You just read the book. He's got the website so you can listen to the exercises and he can walk you through them. Okay? So those are other methods he has. Whatever. But some of those is kind of overlapping with some of these because they're ancient. Any of those methods, they're designed to put you into the present moment. For what? That's just the start. To be in the present moment is a start. But even if you do nothing else, that's where Google and the army and some of these people want to do it, right? It'll already reset the dominoes. It'll already quiet your mind. It'll already give you some awareness. It'll already give you some control of the present moment. But that's not enough. That is helpful. Did you know that if you practice meditation, stillness and silence, it actually rewires your brain? It increases the gray matter. That's the good stuff. That's the thinky stuff. It increases the gray matter in your brain. In as little as I think it's 15, 20 minutes a day for 6 weeks, 5 days a week. You already start seeing a difference in the brain. That's crazy. Because I bet most of us thought, and science did think, up until about 15 or 20 years ago, your brain doesn't change. It's wired, and you just got to put stuff in it, and it runs. It's only in the 15, 20 years that we go, no, we can actually willingly change. Which we guessed before, because certain kinds of doctors and pathologists understood that the brain can rewire itself after certain kinds of trauma, right? You have people who learn how to speak or learn how to communicate, and it literally runs wires, or roads around your brain, around the accident damaged part. So we knew it could do it. We didn't know you could do it consciously. But then we'd seen all these monks doing it for literally centuries. The Catholic Church is awesome. We just kind of hang out and wait for science to catch up. And we're like, hey, what's up? They open the door, they break through the cave. We're like, we have discovered this. And Aquinas is sitting there drinking his coffee. Like, hey, man, come on in. Frank, come here. Francis comes out, and St. Francis is like, hey, what's going on, you guys? How are you? Hold on. You want to meet the first? Eli. And then Elijah comes out, all crazy looking, because I don't think Elijah was a calm dude, because he yelled at kings. And he comes out, and he's like, what are you here for? It took you too long. Just walks away. And they're like, oh, yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. It's good of you to decide to join us. But stillness is just the beginning. Silence is where God lives. Why would you go to his home and not speak to him? Well, it's really pretty and it helps me a lot. Not nearly as much as the guy who designed it. Imagine coming upon a beautiful garden that had all the food and delights you needed to rest from a long journey. And you see the home and you just go back into the world, into the woods. You'd be such a fool. I'd look at you and say, why would you do that? We should go meet him. He designed it almost as if it's just for us. Why wouldn't we go meet the guy who built it if we enjoyed what happened? So that's the difference between Google and the U.S. Army and us. We're going to go past that. We're going to go meet him. So when you're there, when you're in that silence, it's the start. Now what? Now focus. You have your mind ready now. You have this massive tool that has figured out quantum mechanics, has figured out all the way to get us to the moon and further, that has figured out all the science of the body, that has figured out all this thing. You're going to have this Ferrari and you're just going to sit in it? You're worse than a fool. You have this brand new, tripped up, crazy, tricked out Ferrari. And you're just going to go, okay, I just closed the doors because I enjoy the quiet in here. And I'm going to go, all right, don't talk to me anymore. Get out of my car. You're not allowed near me. You're weird. You're going to mess. I don't know if stupidity is like in the air. Get away. I don't know if I'm going to catch it. Go away. Because you have it. Go use the thing. And so what? Now ask God where. I want to drive where I want. You're not much better than the people who just learned silence. You're a step up because you're using it for something, but you're not where you need to be. You're not holy. You're not moving in a godlike manner. And so, no, now turn to him and say, what do I do? And that's where speaking to God comes in. That Lectio Divina reflection I gave you, the paper, it wasn't a reflection, it was before the reflections. It was just to help you with reflections. That's where that can come in. Either side of it, really. But Lectio Divina is by far the beauty. Because it's the Word of God. We had a talk, right, on Lectio Divina by Dr. Tim Gray. And he explains it as well. He gets into what is it? The beginning is great. He's like, all the saints agree. When you pray, God always hears you. Absolutely. There's never a question. The question is, when does you hear God? When does God speak back? Well, he's already spoken. I told you how important speech is. In the Judeo-Christian cultures, speech is the first act of God. So he's already spoken. But have you listened? Well, now that you're ready to listen, now you can hear him. Listen to his word. Now sit with the Bible, and you might not find it as ridiculous or boring or crazy or weird. Another thing he said is, that he points out, that some of the philosophers have pointed out, is you can never hear God speak to someone else. You can only hear him speak to yourself. You can never hear God speak to someone else. You just can't. You can only hear him when he speaks to you. So when you read the Bible, don't worry about that he's talking to Solomon or David, that he's talking to, Moses or the apostles. He's talking to you. Or at least what about it is talking to you. That's what you need to read the Bible. That's how you do it. That's why people read the Bible and are converted away from Christianity. Because they think it's just listening. They're not letting it in here. It's scary to them. So they're like, I read the Bible. I'm really not a Christian. Of course. You don't hand Shakespeare to someone and be like, you got this, bro. When you got to like I don't know, what was it? When you read Shakespeare? 5th grade? 6th grade? I don't know. High school? High school. I was kidding. High school. Of course. High school. So when you read it in high school, then they don't just hand you the book and just go, okay, here, you'll be all right. You got it. Romeo and Juliet, super cool love story, just like you kids. Go ahead. How's that work? Never. They give you commentaries. They give you help. They give you a teacher who walks you through and brings it to life. I remember acting out some of these things. We had to do the reading. We never read Shakespeare just reading it, ever. In all the classes I ever had it, we had to read it as a play. So we had, Mercutio, and we had everybody else. Everybody had to read it. And it made it realistic. And you had an narrator, and then the teacher would stop, hold on, and to explain, what's that word? And, so you see, you're guided through it. Well, people who read the Bible and go, it converted me away from Christianity. That's because they read it like they read Shakespeare. And go, I didn't like it. Nice. And they're just as classy. Jeez, what? Just as classy. You know how many times we've retold the story of Romeo and Juliet? Seriously? I bet you if I went to the theater right now, Fishkill Cinemas, I bet you I would find a version of Romeo and Juliet. Just somehow, but it's there. You're like, oh, Romeo and Juliet, okay. It's a really good story, all right? Well done, sir, okay? Tragic love story gets us right in the gut, I'd say right in the heart, but my gut is bigger than my heart, so it means more. I love you with all my guts, It's bigger. I look down. Okay, so you listen, and who do you ask for guidance? God. Look at his word. In the beginning was the Word, Christ. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Speak to God in Lectio Divina, and then listen to him. And then now here's the thing. A lot of people get to this point and then the balls start coming back at them. And they hit them and they go, wait, no, I did it. And they're gone. Woof. And the devil laughs. He's like, sucker. He just waits. He's like, shh, hold on. Okay, ready. And he hits you. And because you don't know what to do, because Father didn't walk you through if it happens after you quiet yourself. So you're like, no, what's happening? You're already looking at the ball. No, here's what happens. You just go back and do it again. Quiet yourself again. And then you go back and do it again. And then you go back and do it again. You ever had to work with a slightly fidgety toddler? You have to redo stuff with them, right? No, do this. No, do this. No, do this. No, do this. And that's what separates the good from the great with kids. Because the good go, I'm getting frustrated. Okay, go away. You're not worthy of this child's company. Be gone. The person who is, no, do this. No. Do you know how many? I remember years ago, my sister saying that when I was good with kids, with my nieces, one of my nieces, because she was like, you'll repeat the same joke over and over again with them, and they love it. And they'll tell you, and you'll laugh every time. I was like, that's what they're learning. That's how they're learning. Repetition. If you don't have the patience for it, then don't be around little kids. That's cool. There's other people. Maybe you have other gifts. Fine. Go do something with high school people, college people, graduate students. But with a child, you have to repeat it. No, do it again. Well, think of it like a game piece. This is another one I've taught some people. Think of it like a game piece. You know, like Parcheesi, the little weird little thing, or Monopoly, or what was the one that, yeah, anyway. So you think of it, right? Don't do Connect 4, obviously, because that's, you drop it. Don't be a fool. I'm in a board game that you actually move pieces, all right? Some of you, don't do that. I like Connect 4, but no. Then, if it moves off the square, pick it up and put it back on. Pick it up and put it back on. It's going to move itself. Pick it up and put it back on. How many times? As many times as it takes for the amount of time you gave yourself. What if you spend the whole time just quieting yourself? You have grown more than if you spent just a second quieting yourself and were in bliss the rest of the time. No, Father. Yeah. Because you're learning how to avoid the noise. That means your skill is getting greater. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Your skill is growing when you do that. You're going to come out of that like a beast. You know those guys who work out that they just walk around and they look like a little person is trapped inside their neck? No, yeah, they're these muscles, I don't know what they're called. They're like trapezius, right, up here, right? Their traps are almost like shoulders, so it's like a little person driving a big body. If you look, now I'm going to mess with you. You're going to see it forever. Look at a bodybuilder, you're like, oh my gosh, look. Those guys, how'd they get that way? Being lazy like me? No, the reason they look like sculpted gods, they look like gods. The reason they do is because they worked at it, and they worked that muscle over and over and over and over and over again. So they walk by me, and I just hope that there's, like, nobody's looking at both of us. Because I don't look good next to them. I was like, bro, go stand over there, man. What are you doing? I like you, Father. I don't care. Go stand at the other end of the church. You're making me look bad. And so if you do it well, then, right, you know, because look at them. They're literally like gods. They walk by you. You're like, oh, well, good dude, go over there. Why do they do that? Out of repetition. So if you say, I'm going to do a certain amount of time. We'll get into time in a second. But if you say a certain amount of time you're doing this, then what you're doing is building the mental muscles. You're rewiring your brain. And so you're getting better and better. It won't be like that forever. Trust me. And if you don't have to trust me. Look it up, the science, and you'll see that it starts having an effect on the brain within weeks. You already start seeing a change. Okay, so it's happening. You are getting better. So if you spend the entire time of prayer just trying to refocus your mind, you are actually getting a better workout than if you were just already in stillness and quiet. Of course, you want to get to that. You'll get to that. And you're going to get to that regularly faster by going through those bad periods. You get what I'm trying to say? Also, you have to be realistic. There's going to be harder times and easier times. Mm-hmm. There are moments that within half a breath, I can get into a moment of quiet. None. And there are other moments that I can't. And the reason is because I'm in the middle of a funeral. Or I'm in the middle of something very serious. Or I have to tell someone something horrible. Horrible. It takes a little longer, okay? There's a little bit more on the field. They're throwing the balls a lot faster, and there's 2 or 3 machines, and everything is on fire. That's something along the lines, okay? It's just flames. And you're like, you still get there. But it's going to take longer, because you have to take time. How long? Okay, there's a lot of opinions on this. I'm going to give you my own experience, and it's a very common one, which is 15 minutes to 20 minutes. For what, starting or finishing? 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, you're fine forever. But I want it to be long enough that there's a change, that there's time. We think, we're not sure. The science is still out. I'm going to be honest with you. The science is still out. I looked it up just this week to make sure. Because this science is brand new. It's developing. Again, science is catching up to Elijah and Aquinas. And they're like, oh, look who decided to show up, So, I'm waiting on science. Just now, really. I mean, what we're discussing right now is brand new, breaking science. We're not sure if 5 minutes does enough of a difference. We think it does. 5 minutes a day over a period of time. It's certainly slower than 15 or 20. That's what I'm saying. But I'm not telling you that just so you can get into the science of it. I'm telling you for the spirituality of it. That's also why I'm saying 15 to 20 minutes. But we think there might even be some evidence that as little as 1 or 2 minutes can do something. Now, there's a phrase you've all heard me say a million times. Do not let the good be the enemy of the perfect. If you can't do 20 minutes or 15, do 1. If you're going to do 1 minute, and use probably the visualization methods are faster. If you're going to do 1 minute, the mountain, the river, seeing the balls, breathing, those work a little faster in some ways. Fine, I don't care. But I'm telling you right now, give God more time. Give God more time. Especially when you're starting off. People are like, I want to work my way up. No, you're terrible. Start with a little more, and then you'll have more time. You get what I'm trying to say? This is how you're going to do this. You're going to take an alarm, and you're going to count. You're going to put a clock on it, and you're going to put it away. If it's your phone, you're going to put it on silent, and then put it away from you, physically not touching your body or something that you're touching. Can't be contiguous, right? Because if it vibrates on the floor over there, the floor touches me, I think it vibrated. Phantom vibrations, what we talked about the first night at the retreat. You go, eh? Nope. So it's on silent, and it's not physically contiguous to you. So put it on another surface that's not touching you, face down. It will ring. And then try. My preferred suggested method is get Lectio Divina. Start with the Bible. Get that sheet of paper on Lectio Divina, or get anything on Lectio Divina, or just wing it, and try. Do that, and it'll be much more useful. 15 minutes is a good amount of time. And it's enough. And it can reset your day. When? That's on you. Did you notice I didn't say you have to sit on a cushion? Did you notice I didn't say you had to climb a mountain and do it at sunrise as you do weird poses? Did you notice I didn't say you needed a guy with a sitar going near, 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 near? If you do that, actually, I want to see it, but I'm not going to join you. I'm just going to laugh. So it's like for a bad reason to see it. But I am going to want to see it. Nope. None of those things are necessary. Incense? Nope. Because you need to do this every day, and you need to do this in your daily life. How? Well, get to church early. That's one way where it's a place that you can pray, and it doesn't matter. You pretty much, and also the church, even if your eyes wander, it's designed. That's why we have art in churches, by the way. Why do churches need to be art? I just want to be simple. Because we know that we're not just souls, we're bodies. And that helps our mind refocus on God. That's literally why we have art in church. It's to catch that sense of wonder. Remember that? And bring you up. Catch your attention, something surprising, something pleasant, that holds your attention for a little bit. It's designed to that. That's why we have churches that look that way. Okay? But you can find something. Now, all of this is meaningless if you just can do one other way to do it, which is to ask God. Ask Jesus how to pray. His disciples did, and he taught them the Our Father. He taught us the Our Father, right? Can't hear God speak to somebody else. You can only hear him when he talks to you. He taught you how to pray the Our Father. So he's willing to do so. Ask him. Hey, how am I doing? Hey, help me out. And then open Lectio Divina, right? So you open the Word of God and you listen. Okay? But that's one way to do it. You can ask him how to pray. What does he think of your day? If you get to that quiet and you're there, what do you think of my day so far and what's coming up? Any ideas for the rest of the day? One of the biggest single things you can remember about prayer, and it's an old saying, I don't know if this Gandhi said it or Buddha said it, or I don't care. But there's a very famous old saying about prayer, which is, in prayer, they asked, what do you get out of prayer? And he said, it's not about what I get out, it's about what I leave. Your nerves are shot. They're firing at all the stressors that are happening to you every day, and that's why you're short-tempered, that's why you're annoyed, that's why you're bothered, that's why you're frustrated, that's why you're mean, that's why you set off an explosion with little things that get you annoyed, that's why you don't know how to treat the people you love like you love them. That's why God help you if they ever decide to actually measure how much you love them by what you say, by what you actually treat them, as opposed to just assuming you love them. Because then you're in trouble. Because they're going to go, you don't love me, look how you treat me. And you have no response to that. There's no worthy response to that. All of that is happening because your nerves are shot, because the dominoes are just filling over. And I mean, Empire State Buildings are falling over all the time in your heart. Once you get to refocus yourself and zero yourself, then you'll be able to then respond to things in a much more loving, compassionate, but wise way. You'll know the balance between being nice and being a sucker, right? Because you don't want to do that. You'll know the difference between being kind and being firm. When to be kind and when to be firm, when both are necessary. You've got to re-zero yourself. Every day we need this. But a lot of that will come from what you leave in your prayer life. All those stressors, all those anxieties, all those pains, all those annoyances, all those angers, you just leave them there. Some of you have been carrying things for decades. Decades. The movie last night, for those who are listening, our audio listeners, the movie we watched was The Savages. It is a rated R movie. It is appropriately rated R. However, it is a very funny, dark humor, funny drama. It's about a brother and sister who have to revisit their parent who's going insane and he's dying. But he's been a horrific parent. And they're completely messed up human beings. They've been carrying some damage for 30 or 40 years. So you see, you got to let that stuff go. Why are you holding it? Plus, you can't anyway. You can't. You simply cannot. No thing can be held and add more and add more and add more except for something infinite. Only God is infinite. So eventually you're going to hit your full point and you're going to drop something important. You've done that. You got through your day, but you ticked off your whole family. You're like, yeah, but I got through my day. I feel like you dropped something important. So you've got to make time to stop and pause. You need this every day, even if it's just for a moment or two. It will add hours to your day. I heard some goofball loop job say that the other day. He's a goofball loop job, but he was right about meditation and quiet and silence. It's just a goofball loop job. He's like, he does like 3 or 4 hours a day. I was like, good job, bro. He's right. And he was like, at the end of my day, I wasn't crawling into bed, barely alive next to my wife. Good Lord, I'm so tired. No, he was like, I can function. And I was like, yeah, he's right, you know. It added time. You just pause during the day. So when? I don't know, in the morning? Fine. Maybe in the afternoon is better. Maybe in the evening. I don't know how to do this. Go to the bathroom. Sit on the toilet. And you will learn how to put things out of your mind if anybody else comes in there. You're gonna learn how to, you're gonna be a master Zen master. You'll be a Jedi floating, okay? You're gonna no, but I don't know, go for a walk. Do something. It's funny, people who smoke cigarettes say, well, it relaxes me. I go, yeah, breathing slowly relaxes everybody. What? Stepping outside for 10 or 15 minutes a day, twice a day, to breathe slowly would relax anyone. What? Go get a pen, take off the parts of the pen, take the tube, and go outside for 15 minutes and breathe through the pen. Hold your breath. How you doing? You know, they do that weird kind of breathing. That would relax anyone. They really would. Listen, let's be honest here. All right? I'm not saying ban smoking. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is you got to call a spade a spade. Smoking relaxes. Of course it does. Because you're going outside, you're getting some nature, which is never bad, and you're breathing slowly for 10 minutes, 2-3 times a day. Are you kidding, man? If I could find a way to make money off of that, I'd quit the priesthood, bro. I'd be rich. I'm just being honest. Okay, you know how much money you could if you could like sell people an empty pen tube, and they would literally do it. They'd be like relaxing tube. Don't call it smoker's tube because smokers would know the difference, but because the nicotine hits them. But do it like a relaxing tube or something, and if we could sell it, it would be. They do. Aromatherapy sticks. Man, somebody made money. I should have made that money. All right, see? But it does. And they're like, why does it relax? Of course it does. And they do it, 2-3 times a day at work? So certainly we can find 5 minutes, 10 minutes, somewhere. You need to do this every day. Now here's the thing. Father, I want to wait till things are quiet. Nope. Told you we were going to get to how to do this in daily life. Nope. You wait for the world to be quiet, you will die. That's when the world is quiet, when you're not in it. That's the only time it's quiet. You know they have rooms. They have rooms now. Do you know that there is another thing people are making money off of? They have rooms in certain countries where you can go in and it's soundproofed rooms. And they're sound absorbent material. So it's designed to absorb sound. And you can go and you pay for a minute and you sit there. And the idea is all the people there's multiple people, but everybody's trying to be respectful. So all you hear is maybe somebody clear their throat once in a while and things like that. But everybody's trying, and it's to refocus people. That is a magnificently stupid idea. No, I'm sorry, that's me. No, I'm not paying for it, no. But also, you need to find what? The desert in your heart. Oh, that's why he went over desert so much the other day? Yes. Because he kept saying desert like every 2 minutes the other day. Yeah. That's where you find the desert. In here. In your heart. It's the only place you can count on anyway. Actually, on the contrary, if you get used to more and more external silence, it could actually be worse. Because then you can only do it when you have external signs. It's actually less helpful to you. It can be more painful. Also, guess what? Even if you got rid of everybody in the room and you were silent, you would not be silent. You will begin to hear things you've never heard before, like your heartbeat. The blood moving through your ears. You're like, no. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, bro. So there's no, I'm not kidding. When you're dead, when you are no longer in the world, that's when you'll have silence. All the silence you can handle. Either that or you'll have screams. I mean, I don't know. Noise, noise, noise down there. So you can't look for it in the world. You've got to make it. Go to the desert in your heart. Catherine of Siena says, go to the cell, monastic cell, like a monk's cell, room. You could close the room. Like the retreat, right? On this retreat, you have your own bathroom and your own heating and cooling system in your room. So your room is a nice place to retreat from the retreat. People are walking around, you can just go to your room, close the door, and you're there, right? Well, you have one there. Gosh, she sounds pretty smart. It's almost as if she sounds like she's quoting Jesus, who says, go to your inner door when you pray to your Father in secret. Close the door of your heart and pray to your Father in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will hear you. Oh my goodness. What? Is that what Jesus is talking about? Yeah, bro. Seriously? Yeah, bro. It's right there. Oh, it wasn't some hippie from 2,000 years ago? Nope. It was actually teaching and telling something very clearly. You just looked past it because you weren't paying attention to the present moment. Close the door to your cell in your heart. You can't wait for silent. You have to make it. And you have to find your place. You can do this. It's actually not that hard to silence yourself. Now that you have some methods, come up with your own, you're fine. Now that you have some methods, you'll actually be shocked you could do this today. You already have probably during this talk, if you were trying any of them. For a couple seconds or maybe for a half moment, but you noticed you could. You can. You should have told me that on Friday. Nope. You had to try on your own so that you learned humility. It's the friend of silence. Humility and silence go together. It will make you humble. That's why Mother Teresa was so masterful about silence. She was so humble. You know what the other thing is it's funny because we give up the luxury of silence. It's a luxury. Where are the loudest neighborhoods in any city? Are they rich neighborhoods or are they poor neighborhoods? Oh, poor. But when I said silence is a luxury, you think, haha, that's ridiculous. Do you see? Do you know how you can tell when someone has made it in life? Because you can't get a hold of them. You talk to them and you talk to somebody who talks to them. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you talk to somebody who talks to somebody who talks to them. That's when you know you're like talking to the Pope, right? Yeah, because their power, their authority, their respect, whatever, their skill has earned them silence. And none of us notice it until you point it out and you're like, oh, wait, hey, yeah. Hey. You have to speak to my secretary, who speaks to my personal assistant. And then they'll let me know if they think the message is important. They've earned that level of luxury. But us goofballs are like, I want to be in the world. I need to be in touch. Well, I can't delete my social media. I got to be in touch. I got to be in touch. And I'm like, oh, the poor. Oh, the paupers. The hoi polloi. As I hold my monocle. I have 2 monocles right now because I'm so fancy. Yeah. You see, some of you are like, I'm blowing your mind right now, right? It's silence again, by the way. There's wonder. I'm blowing your mind. You're sitting there like, wait, what? Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I need to be in touch. I need to be with the people. Oh. Born poor, think poor. It's a luxury, and we don't realize it. And what's funny is we give up the luxury for the poverty of noise, and we actually think we win. Shockingly insane. It's insanity. Think of that University of Virginia study with the electricity. That 190 dude was really crazy, but we're all a little crazy if you think that that's how it is, and we're tricked into it. How? Dominoes. Pop, 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 boom, 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 boom. So we just assume that that's a good way to be. I can't be quiet. What are you doing? And you're like, look at all the people who have respect or power or authority in any field. I'm not saying they're better than me or worse than me. I don't even maybe agree with what they do. They might be monsters. But they've earned a level of elimination of the noise of the world. And the rest of us are like, yeah, man, I'm real with the people. We're poor and we're happy to be poor. We bathe in the dirt of the poverty, of the noise. Nope. Old people have that wisdom too. They're at peace. They just sit. They talk and everybody listens. I don't want you to be old if you're not old. You can't just be old. But have that aim so that you know where you're heading. We think noise is a valuable thing and it's just distractions. That's why we pay to come on a retreat. That's silent. Now, a couple last thoughts about silence and then we'll finish the retreat, which is one, silence can be, I didn't comment on this at all because I didn't know really where to fit it in, so I'm just going to throw it in at the end. Silence and sadness. Silence and sadness sometimes go together. We take a silence at death. You should listen. The majesty of death is something you should respect. One of the things that made that movie, The Savages, so powerful is that scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman loses his mind when he starts screaming about death. Because he's right, but he's wrong, you know? And you're watching him and he's like, it's disgusting and it's gaseous and it's ugly and it's smelly. And he's right, but it's also wrong and you're not sure how. But it's that reality of the physical and then the transcendent. That's now you're starting to get it. And on the physical level, he's absolutely right. It's disgusting. But on a transcendent level, death has a majesty. Pope Benedict XVI, that's a phrase he uses in his book on Holy Communion. The majesty of death is only outruled and outranked by the majesty of eternal life through communion. I give you my life that you might have life and have it fully, right? And so the majesty of death is appropriate to have silence. And sometimes we take a moment of silence. When we're sad, we want silence. But that is a silence only to be usually alone with pain, which is noise. Because silence can also be comforting. When you just need a moment of silence. Not because you're sad, but just because you just need a second. You see them just at the edge of screaming, but they don't want to add to the noise. That's a good warning. You should back away. Someone just kind of holds up the finger, looks away, kind of at an angle from you and goes, you should stop whatever you're doing. They're probably looking for a moment of silence. It's comforting. You're getting tired or you're getting frustrated. So clearly silence, is not inherently sad because it can comfort us. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I didn't comment on silence and sadness, but clearly, otherwise it would always be sad. Some people only think of it that way because they're very, very poor. Spiritually, I mean. By the way, all the times I was speaking about poverty, I meant spiritual poverty. I didn't mean poor people. Poor people tend to be louder, but that's only because they haven't been educated out of their poverty mentally. Then they'll get it. I mean, I grew up poor. I know what it's like. Grew up in the South Bronx. It's loud. Always. There is no quiet. And I didn't mind it. I was okay with it. Then I got to learn. You're like, wait, no, there's a purpose to this. I've gotten deeper than it. But I can learn silence in the middle of the noise. Life. The more silence you enjoy, the more silence you learn how to put as part of your life, the more you learn how to meditate and quiet your mind and then speak to God. I'm also going to add, this is pretty cool. I told about magic yesterday. Let's teach you some more magic. Magic. Yeah, look at me. I've got robes, a beard. I might as well. Come on. I literally am taking off every archetype for you of what you should think a wizard should look like. By the way, I totally do that on purpose. If you haven't figured that out about me, you don't know me. I do things on purpose, of course. So, let me teach you some magic. When you are silent and you are in control of what is the present moment, or even better, when you're not in control, you're just enjoying the present moment, time acts funny, doesn't it? If you go into a deep prayer moment or a deep moment, or even a movie, which catches you with wonder, or art, or you travel somewhere, nature catches your attention and holds it for a second in a pleasant moment of wonder, time does something funny, doesn't it? Seconds seem like they felt much, much longer, and minutes felt like seconds. You're not sure what time it is. It kind of messes with you. See? Because you're living deeper, not longer. Everybody has a certain amount of time in a day, but some people seem to get more because they get deeper. When you're in the present moment, you're more present. You're more aware. But like I said at the other talk, you're also kind of not present. You're beyond it. You've transcended. Almost, you can take all of the things we said about the word silence and replace the word transcendence. And you could almost exactly replace word for word. Transcendence means go beyond, transcend, to go past something. You see, I will add to your life. As of this weekend, if you pay attention, you will add to your life. Your life will become longer. People who are dying don't say, man, I had a good long run. They're like, I wish I had more. Maybe if they've reached a certain level of wisdom, they're like, it's okay, I'm ready, it's fine. But when they're dying, they've learned, and what do they wonder? Did they use their life well? That's what they wonder. That's what they wonder. use it well. This is, by the way, older than dirt. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, said, "It is not that we have a short life to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He goes on for a bit, and then this is a good one. Life is long if we know how to use it. Life is long if we know how to use it. Because every moment becomes longer and deeper. That's why there are vacations that you have had that felt like they were an eternity and they were a weekend. Because you had a lot of moments of wonder probably, which silenced you. And so you enjoy the moment. And that's why you've been on vacation and you got like, what did I do? Because you did the same thing every day and you didn't do anything that was wondrous or wonderful. And so you didn't get it. Do you get what I mean? That's why I'm saying you can silence yourself in the middle of the noisy world, because you step outside of time. So of course you can do it. Time doesn't matter. If you have the ability to transcend time, then you have all the time you ever need. Told you I'd teach you magic. Learn it, and then you're not trapped by time. Time is fun and amusing, but just an amusement. Another ball you catch. But if you don't, then you're ruled by time. You can hear James Brown in the back of your head. Time is running out. If you don't know that song, that's okay. You just don't know good music. So, that's fine. I'm just above you. No. So, love or live deeper instead of trying to cram in more. You've had that. You've had conversations with people where you felt a depth to them and to you. If they know how to do it, they can bring you deeper too. And just the conversation, you just feel it. You're like, I don't know what just happened. Yeah. You've had it and you didn't know it. And it doesn't have to be serious. It could be literally messing around with your friends. And you're like, how long has it been? It's been 3 hours and we've been laughing and joking the whole time. And you didn't feel it. You're like, how is it 4 a.m, 5 a.m? You're like, you serious? Time got deep for you. You don't have to be serious about it. It's joyful. On the contrary, it is meant to be enjoyed. Bless you, by the way. It's meant to be enjoyed. It's not meant to be in sorrow or sadness or drab or down or ugh. There's a depth and a joy to people like that. And they kind of tap you and bring it out of you. You do it to each other all the time. You just don't catch it because you didn't pay attention. Now you're learning to focus, to notice, to pay attention to things, to be aware. Live deeper, love deeper, not cramming it in. There are 2 quotes that are worth looking at. One was reflected in the last reflection I gave you on silence from St. Ignatius of Loyola. And I don't remember if the other one was, but Hosea chapter 2, verse 16. Therefore I will speak to her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak persuasively to her. Hosea speaking about going into his bride, the people of Israel, bringing her out. She's been distracted by the bright lights in big city. Come on. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 2, same idea. I remember the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride, how you used to follow me into the wilderness. He's saying you used to be this way. Come apart with me. We can meet God if we wrap ourselves in silence. That idea of wrapping yourself in silence. I think Cardinal Sarah's book is, first of all, it's the best book ever. But that phrase of his, you want to meet God, you have to wrap yourself in silence. Like Elijah, right? He's on the edge of the cave, and the wind comes, and the fire comes, and the earthquake comes. He knows it's not God. And then the silence comes, and he wraps himself out of respect. And then he steps into the silence, and then he gets to speak to God. You already have learned. You've done it this weekend, or in these retreats, or in your life, if you've tried. You've achieved it. It was just fleeting, and you just didn't know what to do with it. And you got so excited, you got distracted by the noise. And I, like a monster, watched you get distracted and laughed, because that's what I do. But now you've got some mechanics of it. Some of those books we've mentioned, they're worth looking at. I propose to you to give it a shot and see. But the only way you're going to get some of this done is by trying. Please stand. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Direct us, O Lord, in our thoughts, in our words, and in our actions, that they might begin with inspiration, continue with your grace, and have their end bringing us closer to you. We ask this as we ask all things through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated.